Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous. From presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Brian Donahower, a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, public speaker, and workplace equality advocate whose motto is, "My purpose is greater than all my fears." I like that a lot, Mr. Donahower. Brian, welcome. I'm glad to be able to talk to you today.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be in front of you and your audience. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, Brian, let's start. First and foremost, can you take us through the basics of what quantum healing hypnosis technique is? I think it's called QHHT by those who actually are in the know, and I'd like to be one of those people.
Sure. QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, was developed by the late Dolores Cannon. She passed in 2014. She is truly a remarkable human being. She was a practitioner, a hypnotherapist, a past life regressionist, author, prolific writer, speaker, just an incredible person. And it is from her that I took my inspiration. When I retired from corporate America, I was, where do I go from here? And what she was doing, helping people heal themselves, really, with this technique, resonated with me. So the process is moving a person into what is called the somnambulistic state, a theta state, which is where you are just before you fall asleep, or when you just wake up. There's moments when you just wake up in the morning. And in that state, we can communicate with your, what she called the subconscious. Now, your subconscious knows everything about you, everything you've ever done, every minute detail, to include past lives. It has the power to heal you by shifting your vibration ever so slightly to a state where you don't suffer from that ailment anymore, that condition, that anxiety, that depression, for example. Answer questions, even things like karma that you've carried over from a past life that you're still trying to resolve today. In a sentence, QHHT helps people heal themselves.
I'm very interested in this, and I'm especially interested in what first attracted you to Dolores Cannon and QHHT as a field. I It's a field that's led, created, founded by a woman. That's number one. So I already admire you for recognizing that half of humanity brings a whole lot to the table. But this is a different field from what you had your expertise in. So what attracted you to it?
I was in my 50s and retirement was on the horizon. So I was, maybe a soul searching event. I don't know if it was a midlife crisis, but more of a, what's my legacy? What can I contribute? What can I give back? And I just really wanted to know the truth. And it didn't matter what religion or philosophy or way of life it was, just what resonated with me. And I found Dolores Cannon, on YouTube actually, and was just fascinated by what she had to say. Picked up a couple of her books. I read them straight through, and this was for me.
Makes a lot of sense because prior to your work with Extension QHHT, I see that you've had a lot of experience in the medical field. So tell me a little bit about that and how you think it may have helped prepare you for your current work.
Quite a bit, and it's all about serving people and helping people. And years ago, fortunately, I was in the military and I started out as a medic, and that would be the framework or the foundation, I guess, from where I am today. And I spent a few years in the military and gained some rank and some seniority and became an instructor. So through the GI Bill, I went to school. I did my undergraduate work in health education. And in doing so, I learned much what we know about adult education today is, results from studies and work that they've done in the military. So that I was sold right then and there. As a health educator, I'm looking to bring out the best in people, the next best version of themselves. As a QHHT practitioner, help them to reach that goal and taking that to the next step. So I continue my education in education with my graduate work in adult education. And it's landed me where I am today. It's prepared me all the way back from being a medic, just best way I can say the star is,
Mhm.
what can I do so there's more of you and less of me?
And I know that you have taken sort of all of those experiences and poured them into a book that you have written. Distance Education is about change.
Mhm.
So tell me what led you to write this book, and what do you want your reader to learn from it?
Well, that was my capstone event for my graduate work. And when I was able to investigate and research and learn that educational theory has not kept pace with educational practice. We have online delivery of education. Distance education can be anything from a field trip to online education to even reading a book, to, if you want to incorporate everything in that one box. But theory, we're back to, oh goodness, classic conditioning. We're still ringing bells and having children stand up and leave and go away, and it just hasn't kept pace. So that discrepancy there, I think if we can close that divide, I think that's part of the answer to providing a better education for our children.
And I know that I am a big fan of continuing education, using AI as well as all digital techniques. A lot of us who work in the public sphere moved to digital during the pandemic, and we found that you could reach far more people and be far more productive. And so I completely understand where you're coming from on that. Curious enough, I mentioned earlier that Miss Cannon obviously is a woman. And in reading a little bit about your background, I understand you're one of less than 100 male QHHT level 2 practitioners, which is where you are at this point. Put that in perspective for me. The techniques, how does the technique and the practitioners relate? Because it's clearly a female dominated profession. Does it really matter? I guess is my question.
No, no, not one bit. There's about 4,000 practitioners worldwide. The vast majority there, and there's four levels: intern, one, two, three, and four. Less than 5% are male out of that 4,000. So roughly 200. And out of that 200, again, the majority are level one, level interns, for example. So again, I'm privileged to be in a position where I am. Level three practitioners for male, there's two in the entire world. That okay, it's nice being unique like that, but again, it's really not about me. It's largely continuing Dolores Cannon's legacy and all that she's been able to accomplish in her lifetime. You had mentioned female dominated. I I like to think of it as the divine feminine.
I like that also. I mean, because I know that you are a equality in the workplace advocate at some of the work that you do. And obviously, my background in diversity, equity, and inclusion makes us have that in common. Um, I know that there are people probably watching this who are very curious about this technique. So, why don't you share with us what kind of training a hypnotherapist undergoes? And is there continuing education to keep you all up to date with the best practices?
Hmm. It's quite intensive. I'm not actually qualified as a clinical hypnotherapist, nor am I legally able to call myself one. Um, the actual training is, oh my goodness, 20 some hours classroom, 20 some hours of hands-on practice, and then evaluation. There's a subsequent training to focus, for example, in helping people heal themselves, specifically with a medical background.
Mhm.
Many of the practitioners are credentialed as well as clinical hypnotherapists or NLP practitioners, for example, nurses, and I, for example, have that medical background as well.
Yeah.
And I see it. I see it as a natural evolution of medicine today, or a part of it. And when we start incorporating the holistic more, I think we'll see better results with people's health and their well-being.
A number of medical practices are incorporating Eastern and Western medicine into their practice, acknowledging that people can be healed different ways. And more importantly, there are ways in Eastern and Western medicine that help with preventing illness, and of course preserving wellness. And so I know that what you're discussing is something that a number of medical practitioners are really looking to incorporate into their daily practice. Where do you see your career evolving into the future?
The short answer, Star, is where the universe takes me. That's the honest answer, too.
Yeah, Brian, I always say I'm opening doors, and whatever's behind that door, I'm ready to go because I grow where I'm planted.
Right. And that's the path of least resistance. It turns out to be the one with all the synchronicities in it, and you find yourself in front of the people you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I personally would like to pursue speaking in front of larger audiences and communicating that this, this works. This can help you. And I'll circle back to what I said earlier. What can I do so there's more of you and less of me? If I can communicate this information, it's not mine to share, and you benefit from it, please run with it.
Have at it, right? So, Brian, in conclusion, tell me what's the one thing you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
Wonderful question. Thank you, Star. Above all things, I know itself be true. Pursue your purpose, pursue your passion, and leave the haters in the dust. They don't matter. It's ultimately we're all one. We're all connected, and if you can find your purpose, you'll find that when it's greater than the sum of your fears, when you follow your passion. Following your passion in service to others, I don't know that what MLK said, anyone can be great because anyone can serve.
It's very interesting that you brought up some of the things that I love to talk about, all in that last phrase. So many of us are searching for purpose. Mm-hmm. And it has always been my theory that everyone has the same purpose, and that purpose is to serve. Our challenge is to find our best way of fulfilling that service. And I that's exactly what I heard with your statement just now. I think it's just really very good advice. Don't make it more complicated than it is. Your purpose is to be of service while you're here on this earth physically. And you were much more eloquent about, quote, the haters. I always just say, make your haters your motivators, baby.
Oh, I love that. Can I steal that from you?
You 100% can. 100%. Brian, it was a pleasure talking to you. I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm truly grateful.